Hi everyone, my name is Meganne Christian and I was a co-op scholar in industrial chemistry between 2005 and 2009. I actually hadn't really thought of doing engineering when I was in my last year of school. I definitely knew I wanted to do sciences and possibly combined with arts, but it was really the co-op scholarship that attracted me to doing engineering because really I didn't know a lot about it. And I'm so glad I did because I really loved that sort of problem solving aspect of everything. So definitely thanking the co-op program for that, for just pulling me into it in the first place. Since my degree, my career path has been, well, let's say varied, certainly interesting and perhaps a little bit unexpected as well. So I thought I'd just give you a bit of a rundown on that. So after my undergrad, I decided to do a PhD. So I did actually really love my industrial training placements, and I would definitely have considered going to work in one of the places that I had done those placements. But I also discovered a love of research and discovery. So my undergraduate thesis had been on hydrogen storage for fuel cell vehicles using nanomaterials, and I was able to continue that research during my PhD in the School of Chemical Engineering. All my time during co-op, my interviews for the co-op program, and then throughout my my undergrad, the kind of experiences that I had there, they definitely helped me towards then getting a position later in life. So I got this postdoc and moved to Bologna in Italy, threw myself into the language and the culture, and really had a lot of fun. Some space applications also came up. And so I got to go on board this aeroplane that did a maneuver going up very, very steeply, and then it turns off its engines, and at the top of this parabola, you get 22 seconds of weightlessness. And then you, at the bottom of both sides of the parabola, you actually get 20 seconds of double gravity. And so this was my first sort of experience of weightlessness and what it might be like to work in space, just a little taste of it. So that was extremely exciting. And it was something that kind of fulfilled me doing this work. The National Research Council of Italy, where I was working, has two permanent stations, two stations in Antarctica. I actually got to go and spend a year in Antarctica. And I think the reason was that I had a lot of transferable skills, partially from the scientific research that I had been doing, also from the background that I'd had from my industrial training placements all that time ago at university. So I spent this year in Antarctica, which was a life-changing experience. It was absolutely amazing. We got down to a temperature of minus 104 degrees wind chill. I was working outside every day. And it was basically a technician's role. What I was really worried about when I was going there was that I wouldn't have some of the technical skills necessary. But I found that when I got there, I was able to pick it up really quickly. And this is something that you learn when you're at uni. You really learn to pick things up quickly, to analyze, and to actually enjoy that learning process. At the same time, I was spending time looking at the stars, and the stars in Antarctica are just incredible. The air is thinner, so you can see them, and it feels like you're inside them. This learning of the technical skills, which I didn't have the confidence for before, but I had built that confidence during that time. And the fact of being a custodian for other people's experiments meant that when the European Space Agency opened up applications for astronauts for the first time in 13 years, a couple of years later, I definitely wanted to apply. It was absolutely something that I wanted to do. I was selected as a member of the Reserve for the European Space Agency. And so now I find myself waiting for a potential mission to space one day, probably to the International Space Station. Who knows? Perhaps to the moon. But yeah, it's hugely exciting. And while I'm waiting for this mission, I'm working at the UK Space Agency. I really wanted to get more involved in the space sector. So as I said, it's been a hugely varied career and really not what I expected from the beginning, but I think each of the little steps along the way contributed to the next one, and I certainly got a really strong founding from my time at UNSW, and in particular in the co-op program. So coming back to that time, I just thought I'd maybe give you a few little pieces of advice which I hope can be helpful during your time and how you can make the most of your time at UNSW. let your time at uni teach you the soft skills as well as your technical expertise, because to be honest, these are the things that you're going to use the most and that you'll probably remember more easily than everything else. You really learn a lot when you're on the job in terms of technical expertise, but those soft skills are something that you need to develop. And as a co-op scholar, you have a great opportunity to really develop these things. And so that's number one. Number two, have fun. So you may have a lot of contact hours, especially if you're an engineer like me. And yes, your summers are taken up with industrial training placements. But aside from the joy that you actually get from doing those things, uni, those years at uni are some of the best times in your life. So make the most of it. And the last thing I wanted to say was, when it comes to looking into your future career path, really keep your mind open. So you've got a really strong base thanks to your co-op scholarship and everything that means. But as you're thinking about the future, keep your mind open and just look out for strange and interesting opportunities that might not be part of your traditional career path, because they may really help to fulfill your life like they have with me. My experience in Antarctica changed everything. And yeah, so and getting these broader perspective on things kind of help us to solve the world's problems. So enjoy, and I wish you the best of luck.